here he's back. He's talking about we're going to take that kind of 30 seconds to go live here. So, and Marcus could do a sound check.
Yeah, I'm not in a sound check mood tonight, Ron. Check 1, 2. How's that?
There you go. That's the best we could do. It's the best we could do. So I think we're close to live here. That's the best we could do.
I think you're there, Ron.
We're there. Okay, here we go, guys. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1, and welcome into DroneNation for January 20th, 2025. Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody out there, and happy National Championship Day. Steve, in the U.S. here, our American football is our big collegiate national championship, and it's one of the biggest games of the year, probably only rivaled by what we call the Super Bowl here for American football. So,
Ron, are they going to have a big drone show?
I don't know who the halftime entertainment is, but hopefully it's drones.
In the dome. It's in the dome.
Yeah. So
folks, send in the drones.
We got the usual panel here today, and we got our tonight's special guest star is Stephen Sutton, all the way from Finland, and I have his channel link right in the show notes, the flyby guys. So go over there and sub them up if you're not already subbed. And Stephen, what we do here is, so we have so much big entertainment football, American football wise, going on during the show. We don't want people to leave the show and go watch the football games. So what we do is DeMarco tells them who's going to win the game. They don't have to bother watching it then, because and our record is almost spotless around here. We almost never get one wrong. So here we go. The number one thing is here, DeMarco Moore's fearless national championship football prediction, and this is one of his biggest predictions of the year, folks. It doesn't get any bigger than this. We got the Ohio State Buckeyes. Nobody in the U.S. knows what Buckeyes means, but they got a record of 13-2 versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They have a record of 14-1. Ohio State is giving away 9 points in this game. That means they're a 9-point favorite. And just a small side note, in the whole college tournament, Ohio State is an 8th seed and Notre Dame is a 7th seed. So, DeMarco, it's all you.
I'm a Noel in heart. My wife's a Michigander, but I am rooting for the Buckeyes tonight. They are heated rivals. The Wolverines and the Buckeyes. They are rivals, but I'm rooting for the Buckeyes tonight, and they are currently winning 14-7. And I had already predicted they were going to win, so I'm going to keep that.
That's automatically sealed in the pickle jar before the game even started here. And of course, I'm a lifetime Penn State Nittany Lions fan, so Notre Dame took out my beloved Lions before. So okay,
tonight. So
it's all Greek to me.
And DeMarco, what is just last year your Michigan Wolverines won title?
Last year.
Yeah, just last year, right?
Yeah, last year though. So this is 2 years in a row that there hasn't been an SEC team in the championship. Thank God.
The Big Ten's taking over again.
It is though. But here, to say this though, the last thing about this, it always changes. It never stays the same. So for the people who think that the SEC was always going to be on top, you are mistaken. And the Big Ten won't be there either for a long time. So that's it.
Okay, the end of football nation here. We're losing people by the minute here. Steve is a great guest, and one of the reasons we have one here is we had an incident here in the U.S. back in December. It was the Orlando drone show incident, and Steven has a video about it, and I've linked Steven's video on his subject right here in item 2. So you want to go over, not this second here, but you want to go over and watch this video after he gets done speaking here. He would appreciate a look, like, and a follow, whatever. But this is the Orlando drone show incident. But they did an investigation at the NTSB, and they did a preliminary report was released. And I kind of have some of the highlights here in the chat, but rather than me go down here and read all this here. I'd rather have Stephen kind of give us a overview of the incident and then an overview of this report that came out about a week ago.
Yeah, so this event that happened. So just to give, I'm sure you've all seen these drone shows. I mean, you've seen videos. If you've been lucky enough to see one live, then of course you know what these look like, and they look amazing. And when we work on these, when we do these shows, and one of the the main things that we focus on is safety, and safety is absolutely paramount with everything that we do. And then if you've seen the first video that I've made about this, I'm talking about the safety zone. So we have what we call safety buffer, and within the safety buffer you always have your geofence. So when I seen this incident, when I watched the video for the first time, when it was sent to me, when this happened, my first impression, my first thought was, where is the geofence? The geofence should kick in. And what happens with the geofence is that, or you actually have two geofence. Some call it a hard, soft. We call it an inner geofence and an outer geofence. And the inner geofence is the first geofence, where if a drone hits the geofence, it shuts down the motors, and then the drone, at its highest velocity and highest height, it will land at a location which is before the audience, right? But there's also another outer geofence. Well, if the inner geofence doesn't work, the outer geofence, and it's kind of your last line of defense, and that should, with the highest velocity, highest height, the drone should land, and it should not hit the audience. But of course, we've seen from this video that the audience had taken that, unfortunately, a drone had hit someone in the audience, and unfortunately, it was a 7-year-old boy who had to have heart surgery. And that is, our biggest nightmare. That's the thing that we dread to see. And when I started in this sector working in here, we were told that this should never happen. And you have your measures in place to make sure that doesn't happen. So when this happened, it really made me feel sick. It really made me feel bad. It made everyone feel terrible, because it's the thing that you don't want to happen, and it happened. So watching this video, of course, I don't know what actually happened, but of course I've done these shows many times, and watching this show, I'm thinking, okay, the geofence is here. Now, many people obviously watching the video, many of you out there are probably thinking, yeah, the drones were acting terrible. Yes, of course, and the drones were not acting well at all. But the geofence should stop any drone that would hit the audience. So in a way, it doesn't matter what is happening in the show. If the drones fall from the sky, if the drones just, let's say, behave whichever way they do, the geofence will look after them. Yes, people will go, it was a terrible show. Yes, but no drone would have hit the audience. So I've seen many comments where people are talking about, yes, it's the drones, it's the drones. Yes, of course it's the drones, but the drones are not going to be the point of the investigation as far as I'm concerned. It's the geofence. The geofence will be the point. And it looks from the images that I've seen, it looks like there's been no safety buffer between the geofence and the audience. And that means that when the drone hit the last geofence, it went right into the audience. Now, obviously, this is a preliminary report, so the full report has still to come out. So, but what I wrote, or what I said in the first video, has basically reflected everything that has happened in the report, and so there's no real let's say surprises here. So that's my high level. So
Marcus
but
has a question.
yeah, Steve, you had mentioned that they probably never should have had the show to begin with because they had some initial problems, pre-show issues, and so they probably. And I think the way you explained it is you would have scrubbed the show, knowing that those problems existed.
I would have delayed the show.
Yeah,
I would have delayed the show. And again, I think the investigation is okay. So when you have the PIC, which is the pilot in command, and the pilot in command is the person who is in charge, right? And it doesn't matter if your boss walks in the door, right? So if the head of the company comes in and says, "Guys, come on, I want to show up," and if the PIC sees that something's not right or whatever, and the PIC has the right to say, "No, we're not going right now. We have to delay the show." And what I do see and what I've experienced, and I have experienced this many times, is that you have the client coming in, standing over the shoulder of the pilot, going, "Go on, we're late. We want the show now," and right. They don't. It's a bit like the captain of a 737, and you could have chapping on the door saying, "Come on, I want you to go and take off right now. It's time to go." And they haven't done the pre-flight checks and stuff. So that's why the door's locked. And again, I was saying this in the video that I always keep everyone away from that. I have a good story. We were doing a show in Dubai, and my team were doing the show in Dubai. It was for Chanel, and I wasn't going to. I actually wasn't going to go to that show because I was leaving my team to do the show. But there was a show in Florida that happened a week before, and the client was, let's say, not the best behaved, and because I have a reputation to be quite tough and hard to make sure that safety is absolute paramount, I was told to go to Dubai and stand there and make sure that the client didn't get involved, which was true, and of course I made sure, and of course the show was fine, everything was okay. So you really don't want to have anyone get involved and start giving their opinions about, because safety is absolutely paramount. So I've seen this many times, and you have to be tough, you have to be hard to say, "No, we're not flying now, get the hell out of here, and we'll fly when I'm ready." I think that there should have been a delay. Now, of course, it's all coulda, shoulda, woulda, but of course there's lessons to be learned from that. So.
Hey, Stephen, I get a question from Mark White in the chat here. Mm-hmm. Mark White asks you, Steve, would the GL fences have no effect if the drones lost GPS?
Probably would not have lost GPS. I've seen a few comments that people have been saying that there's been interference here. In fact, there was a comment on the video just very recently in the past 10 minutes that said that there was probably interference. No, there was no interference there. If there was interference, you would really know there was interference. You would lose all the drones, and because what happened, and that is in the report, is that when the drones got into position, everything went okay, and I said that the PIC made the right decision to continue with the show, because it would have been even worse if he would have brought all the drones back. You just don't do that. And the worst case scenario is to just land all motors off, kind of thing. But but it depends on the interference. If obviously if it's GNSS interference, the drones don't know where they are. That doesn't really happen in the US. You don't really have that kind of interference. I've not really heard of that.
Finland is close to another country that is known to interfere with GPS.
Happens to me regularly. Yeah, it happens to me. And we've had that also on a show in Papua in Indonesia. So we got so we got jammed by GNSS with 500 drones in the air. Yeah, we got jammed by the Secret Service. That was fun. That was fun.
Wow.
Stephen, so from the NTSB's report here, one of the things they brought out was they said misaligned show center. The entire drone formation was off by 7 degrees, shifting the show position. This seemingly small error meant that the geofence, a versatile boundary meant to keep drones away from the crowd, was incorrectly placed, putting spectators at risk. Could you kind of break down that statement there for us?
No comment.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm very skeptical about that. I'm very skeptical. No comment.
Okay.
Steve, what about a kill switch? Just to
a kill switch. Every show has a kill switch. Every show has a kill switch, DeMarco. And I've never used it. I've never ever used it. I've never seen it being used. And it's basically motors off. So you've got 4, 5, 600, 1,000 drones, and because I think that like it says in the report that the pilot was thinking to bring the drones back. You do not want to do that. If you bring the drones back, you're going to have an even bigger mess, because and it's just a mess that the drones are coming back, because every drone has a path. They all have a path, but that path is from the beginning to the end. That path is not from the beginning to halfway through. Halfway through, the drones have a certain position, and that's when you have collisions, and that's when you'll have a real mess. So, but you can have the odd return to home, and you see drones doing that. Sometimes that one drone decides, yeah, I'm coming home. That's fine. But if you have them all coming home, no.
We all around shortly after that incident in Florida, they had another show in South Carolina, Folly Beach, on New Year's Eve, where we saw the same thing. Drones just plummeted to the ground as they were taking off, injuring one spectator there. And I just read somebody's news story here. The mishap reminiscent of the recent show debacle in Florida sparked an investigation into what went wrong. And that show was sponsored by the Folly Association of Business, which organized the event that had aimed to offer an environmentally friendly celebration with a high-tech twist. The show kicked off at 7 p.m. on Tuesday night, around 250 drones, but within 3 minutes, it spiraled into disaster. Have you followed that Folly show at all, Stephen?
Yes, I have. And I think, and this is just my own opinion from what I've seen of the show. And some of the news reports, like you've just read there, Ron, by saying that that it was a disaster and drones were going all over the place. From what I seen in the video, it didn't look that bad. It didn't look that bad. And I do think that there was a little bit of, let's say, panic from the press, and maybe some panic from the pilot in command. It does say in all the news reports, it's saying, it didn't say a member of the public. It said that someone was hit by a drone, and I'm very skeptical that it wasn't a member of the public. I'm thinking that it was a member of the operations. It was a member of the drone team, because there's been no member of the public that has been interviewed. I've checked. I've done as much research as I can do here. There's been nothing mentioned about a member of the public, because with it being the US, you guys are always good for suing people and stuff like that. So I think that this would have been part of the narrative. This person, from what I've seen, hasn't appeared. Now, I'm not saying it's normal that a drone hits you. It shouldn't hit you when you're on. But of course, if that person was in the area, but part of the operations team, maybe a drone fell. From what I seen in the video, it didn't look that bad. It didn't look bad at all, actually. Maybe the show didn't continue as it should have done. Maybe the pilot got a bit panicky thinking about what happened in Orlando and decided to land them all. I don't know. I just didn't see it as being anything so very bad. That's my opinion.
Stephen, can you put this into context for us? When I think about these a few incidents that have happened with drone shows, and I need to back up a little bit. We often think about drone shows as an alternative to fireworks shows. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, I think that because of the Foley Beach, they had specifically mentioned that they didn't want to have fireworks this year because of the noise and stuff, and they wanted to use drone shows as an example. But yes.
So that said, if we compare the safety record of fireworks shows with drone shows, there is no comparison.
No.
There are fireworks shows that have gone so awry and have killed and maimed and done some pretty bad stuff. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have fireworks shows. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm just saying that don't, people shouldn't get all freaked out over drone show when one or two drones falls from the sky. And by the way, I want to say we all feel terrible about that young man that got hit by the drone.
Right.
Of course, I think that it's this is the first time that a drone has struck someone in this kind of in this way, and the drone light show, the drone light show community, who I've been talking to over the past month now about this. This is our biggest fear. This is the thing that we just didn't want to happen. And it's been and we started to work with Intel with this, back in I think it was 2020, and obviously with Intel, it's a huge company. It's a massive multi-billion-dollar company. So safety was, it was the top thing. So when they asked us to work for them, safety was, it was the biggest. It didn't matter what had happened. Just make sure that it's safe. And I remember once that we had, we had this. Well, I wouldn't even say it's an incident. We had a drone that went to the edge. It didn't go over. The geofence done its job, and it landed, but it landed at the edge. Didn't go over. It was still inside. So it done what it should have done. It was fine with all the parameters. But they were still like, oh, we have to push it back further. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It done its job. It's like, no, but they wanted it pushed back even further, because even though it was, so it just shows you the level of safety that they were really wanting, but what I'll say something which I've noticed, and if you want to go to my video, which if you go to the latest video that I've got, there is a comment that I've pinned there, and it's someone who used to work with me on the Intel side who's now retired, and he's actually saying something which I've noticed, and that is that I've seen with many videos. And this is only what I've only been thinking because I've seen videos, and I've always thought that since Intel has stopped, there's been a drop in safety. I've seen people that are way too near, and it's only been my opinion because I've only seen it. Now I've not been to the US to see these shows, so it's only my opinion from what I see, and I've never made it public. But this person said, I've been to see a show recently and I couldn't believe what I seen. And he basically backed up what I thought. So I think there could be something in the future with the FAA that they may look at the safety standards that they have agreed, and they might push some kind of a, let's say safety that they might have to review. So that's just what I think and what I see, and because something's not quite right. But we have good safety standards here in Europe.
Different one. Yeah. As far as we know, the NTSB hasn't released any reports on the Folly show, right?
No.
We're still waiting for their reports.
Yeah. I kind of think that we might not see one.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to see one. I could be wrong, but I don't think we're going to see one. I don't think there's much to report.
And unfortunately, what Marcus was saying a few minutes ago about the fireworks shows versus the drone shows. If a fireworks show goes bad, it's probably get very little mentioned in national news. But if a drone show goes bad, it goes right to the top of the news cycle, unfortunately. Yeah, just like Marcus makes a point too. We have aircraft issues, especially at aircraft shows and things like that, where they have people get killed and planes that crash. That's slower to make the top of the news cycle than a drone crashing.
Yeah, and I think it's unfair that obviously the drone show company have had their license taken away and that they're not flying. And I think that's unfair, because if you have an airline accident, for example, they'd never shut down the airline.
Right.
Yeah.
Is Korean Airlines or I can't remember, Juju Airlines or whatever it was. Yeah. Are they shut down today? No.
Mark, what's the airline where the doors fell off in the U.S.?
Yeah, that's Alaska Air right here.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do think that there's a little bit of unnecessary panic. Of course, people make mistakes. People, and you have pilot error, in manned aviation. So I think that there has been a little bit of a unnecessary. What's the word? When you have the neck thing, what is it?
A whip.
Yes. There's a bit unnecessary whiplash that has happened from this, and I think it's a bit unfair.
Knee jerk.
Knee jerk reaction. Sorry, thank you, and that's why. I mean, if you watch my videos, you see I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not putting any blame on anything, because obviously we want to wait for the NTSB. I have a lot of respect for these guys that are doing the shows. I don't want to be out there saying that these people are bad and because it is unfair. I know that these guys are hurting. These guys are hurting right now. It's I mean, if that was me, I don't know. It's
Yeah, you'd be devastated. Yes, of course. Yeah.
I'm sure they're getting asked questions by these investigation.
Oh, I'm sure.
Questions that I don't know, that dig right in or whatever.
Yeah. True. Very, very true. Yeah. But it's and again, I think that we have to understand that accidents or incidents like this will happen.
Yeah.
They will happen, and this won't be the last one, and it will be something which I'm not saying it should be normal, but it will happen, and we have to accept that. And incidents with drones, it doesn't make them unsafe. It just these things will happen, and there has to be some kind of let's say normalization about it, in a sense that it doesn't have to be a knee-jerk reaction. Thank you, Marcus.
Well, understanding maybe there has to be an understanding that sometimes bad things do happen.
Yeah, of course.
With automobiles and
I was
anything.
going to say, Marcus, that day in Orlando when the boy did die, but he almost did, I guess. But how many automobile deaths happened in Orlando that day that didn't make the news?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Four.
Four.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, we have what happened with the sub 250 in Los Angeles, and
I was going to say, what's with
hitting the
that,
wing of the
Stephen?
plane.
You probably, is that making the news over in Finland? The I'm going to call it the Canadian plane that
Super Scooper.
And dropped over the wildfire. What looks like a Mini 3, I believe, Marcus.
Mini 3 Pro is what that was. Yes.
Went through the we'll call it the wing. I guess where the water would go in. What's your thoughts on that whole incident, Stephen?
Well, I think we need to focus on education, and this goes into a timely sync with what's happening with DJI and the flight zones, been taken away, and I've yet to make a video about this because, and I think this.
Steve,
this
you referred to the geo zones going away in the U.S.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So all these all these geo zones that have left also in Europe. So 11 months ago, most of Europe and the UK had the geo zones removed from by DJI, and they said that they were going to continue with the US and the rest of Europe and other countries. So obviously, when it happened in the US, after what happened with this and all the rest of it, and obviously what's happening with DJI in terms of, let's say, the political thing that's happening in the US, a lot of people tended to think that this was a political move rather than it was a DJI move, and it was just a normal part of the process which was going on. We need to focus on education. It doesn't matter if it's a sub 250 or if it's a like a much heavier one. This is the Imatrice 4. But we need to focus on education. If you want to fly a drone, you have to understand airspace and you have to understand where you have to look rather than trusting these maps. It's we have to focus on education, and that's
so easy. It's so flippin' easy. Every country has an app. If you're too lazy to look at a sectional chart, you can go in the United States. You can go look at Sky Vector. It'll tell you every TFR. It'll show you every bit of controlled airspace there is, and you don't even have to do that. You just get out your Before You Fly app and you look, and it'll tell you.
Stephen, we did come to a little conclusion last week when we talked about this topic that this was in what we call a natural disaster situation with wildfires, and in a natural disaster, bad decisions are made, Stephen, by many people, including this person who lost that drone up. So there was a lot of bad decisions made that day and that week. And
that was one of them for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just as Texas Art Drone Guy was saying that TFRs are never included in the geozone. Exactly, and that is a point. Is that many of the TFRs and flight restricted areas are not in these zones. We still have the geo zones here in Finland from DJI, but they're not all there. So there's some that are there and some that are not. So you can't trust it. You can't trust DJI. But from a purely of course, John, and as John's saying there.
Bad decisions made every day by licensed car drivers.
No, it's totally because most people don't even know about those apps.
Exactly. Let me comment on that. And the reason I want to is because that video that I just posted about DJI removing the geo zones, some of those comments in there were just stunning. People that were completely ignorant of rules and regulations with regard to drones. Questions about what is a geo zone? What you're going, well, they talk about, I've been flying for 5 years, and you go, well, boy, oh boy, how can you be that out of touch? But sadly, you can just walk into Costco or Walmart and buy a drone, fire, and off you go. Never knowing anything about any regulation or controlled airspace or anything.
Nothing.
So, and it's when people, and I've seen many comments and people have said to me that the DJI should not remove these zones. And I've said my own comment there is basically well, if, in that case, you should just have your car made sure that you're doing, the speed limit, and if you should never go with the speed limit, So it's I mean, you might go a little bit further, you might go a little bit higher, or we know that some people do that, but as long as you don't do that all the time, people will do things, but as long as you know the airspace, if you understand the airspace, it's fine. It's fine.
So, Steve, my comment to that, I hear that all the time too. That, oh my God, things are just going to go nuts now. No more geofencing. People, they're just going to break laws. They're going to be flying through airports. Well, Amazon sells thousands of drones every day, and trust me, none of them are geofenced. All those. Holy Stones and Rucos and Holytons and all these different brands of drones, they've never had geofence. They wouldn't know a geofence if it stared them in the face. And the people that buy those are probably the people that really don't know much about drones, and we haven't really had a problem.
But
you know why
the range is less on those drones too. That's the big difference there. The range is less.
Try some of the new ones, DeMarco. Try some of the new ones.
Miles.
Okay.
Do you know why we have? Okay. Do you know why DJI have the geo zones on their maps? Do you know what it came from?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, and there's probably not many people who know this, and I found this out the other day. The reason why DJI have geo zones on their map is because of Tiananmen Square.
Oh,
And
really?
they originally blocked off Tiananmen Square in their own map at the very beginning to make sure that people wouldn't fly there. And it was something that they just rolled out, and they just now they got that information from the FAA and other countries. It wasn't, but the FAA and the CAA and the EASA here in Europe, they did not give that information to DJI. DJI took that information that they seen, and that's why you have likes of stadiums as well as airports, but you'll have stadiums and stuff like that, which you kind of go, why do you have those kind of zones? But it's not something. But obviously, when you have your TFRs and your no-fly zones and whatnot, those are the ones that the FAA and the EASA that they want to have. But that's the ones that you'll never find in the DJI maps. But it originally came from Tiananmen Square because the CCP did not want anyone flying there at the anniversaries.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. Yeah. The thing that always mystified me about DJI and their maps and their geozones is that they were never in agreement with true FAA controlled airspace. Yep. And so sometimes you could run into a geozone when you were in perfectly Class G airspace.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
and that's why I think that when you're working, so when I'm doing enterprise stuff, if you find yourself flying and you're in a geo zone and you can't fly because you then have to unlock, but you might have to actually log into your account and then apply to get permission and stuff. That takes time. You might be against weather. You might have the client on your back. You've got things to do. Those kind of things you cannot be dealing with. If I'm flying near or at an airport, I can just call the tower and say, look, do you mind if I fly? I'll be at this height, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you can. It's okay. And you go, yeah, fine. But then the geozone locks you out and you can't do anything. And it's like, we have to take responsibility. It's as simple as that. We need to take responsibility. And if we can't be responsible, you shouldn't be flying. But we need to be responsible. As simple as that.
Stephen, you reminded me of something when you picked up that drone. It had the little RTK. Is that what you call it on the top receiver?
Yep.
And help me out here if I am not understanding this correctly. That is a situation that you set up on the ground, and that talks to your transmitter on the ground, so it knows exactly where it is.
Yes.
So follow me here. Could you use something like that in your drone shows to replace GPS or GNSS?
Yes. That is a good question, because we do use RTK with the shows. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you here.
Yeah, no, thank you.
So this is a drone show drone, and this is an RTK unit on top. There's an F9P in here. There is an F9P. I think I have an F9P here somewhere. Let me check. I have one. I have an F9P. So here's a U-Blox F9P. There's something similar to that also in here as well. There is the ability to have RTK on this, and this is the RTK. So that's why you get the drones so very, very precise, right? So, and we use RTK for that. There's one drone that we don't have RTK, and that's this one. This is the old Intel one. So this was the first shows we ever done in 2020. In Dubai, these don't have RTK.
Huh.
They just have kind of, let's say, standard GNSS, and they're slightly off. So when you compare, like, so this has got RTK. It's, this is really straight, and this is very accurate. This is a bit kind of like, yeah, I'll see what I'll do here.
Sort of there. Yeah.
Now, Stephen, do you have to change your preparation routine for drones that do not have RTK?
No. It's just another layer to check. That's all. But if you have RTK, it doesn't give you any more level of safety, because it's just it's just another top layer on top of GNSS. If you get jammed, RTK doesn't matter. You just lose it all.
Yeah, so that's what I guess that's where I was going with it. So if somebody was jamming GNSS, that it also jams RTK.
Yeah, because this is the Matrice 4. I've got the Mavic 3 Enterprise, which I was using, and that has RTK on it as well. There's two levels of RTK that you can use. So you can use the RTK actual unit, and it can, or you can have the kind of in the cloud RTK. And I use the cloud one. And I got jammed with that. I mean, I've been jammed with the drone show, and then I've been jammed when I've been doing mapping and stuff. And, RTK doesn't matter. You still get jammed.
10-4.
Interesting. Another hot topic, Stephen, to ask you about. Over in Finland, did you follow all the stories that happened in, say, late November, most of December, about these crazy drone sightings in New Jersey. People seeing drones as big as SUVs flying above their houses, and it was a hysteria, really. I mean, it made every local news station, every little town's mayor was concerned about it, and politicians were talking about Iranian motherships launching these drones from the ocean. I mean, it was like, it was almost like it was some kind of a movie.
I was following it all. I mean, there clearly wasn't enough happening in the news in the US to keep people, to keep people happy or to keep the attentions off. There was, it was definitely a slow news month.
Yeah, I mean, we had somebody in the chat here say one day, there was a school shooting where a whole bunch of children died, and the drone sightings in New Jersey was the top story. That kept a real news story down.
Yeah. One thing which I thought, I was watching some interview on CNN about this, and there was a U.S. senator. I don't know her name, but there was a U.S. senator who was saying that this is a terrible thing, and drones are not allowed to fly at night time, and blah blah blah. And I got really annoyed at that because even though I'm not in the U.S., I know the rules in the U.S. You are allowed to fly at night if you have a Part 107, and you have to have the lights on. So what you're seeing, I'm sure there were drones there at some point, and maybe not the SUV ones or whatever, but there was probably drones that were flying there. But they were, but they were allowed to fly and they had lights on. So what you were seeing was part of legislation.
Damn it! I wish my SUV could fly. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be awesome?
No.
Man, just get in that Chevy Tahoe, back it out of the garage, hit flight, boom.
Yeah.
Or just get your control rod.
Make sure you check the airspace first, Marcus.
Well, no, that's fine. Yeah, I know the rules. Yeah,
I don't know if you got this news. They don't talk about this much, but New Jersey, even though we don't have a giant city, Philadelphia's on the edge of New Jersey, New York City's on the edge of New Jersey, and we have North Jersey. We have a major international airport here.
Yeah,
we have all this air traffic around us that there's constantly air traffic flying over New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I would go out and look I live in New Jersey, and I would go out and look for these drones on a clear night and whatever. And everything I saw in the air was clearly manned aircraft.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it had navigation lights on it. That's your first clue. Navigation lights.
Yeah, and if you live in New Jersey and look up the sky, you know what a jet airplane looks like flying over.
But it really shows you just how easy it is, to manipulate people. It really shows you that. I think I made a video about this, and I was saying that, you can, that even if you're using Flight Radar 24, that still doesn't show you all the aircraft. There are other apps that will show you other aircraft, so you can be looking up there and saying, "Oh, that that is manned," and then you check and you say, but it's not there. But if you check another app, you'll see that it's there, because I know that there's some helicopters. We have the same here, so we have some aircraft that don't show up in Flight Radar, but if we use our other ones, then we see that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They all don't squawk ADSB, so an aircraft that is outside of controlled airspace is not required to squawk ADSB.
Exactly.
So for instance, when I'm out someplace out like at the Snake River Canyon, do not depend on ADSB on your drone.
Yeah.
Finding a manned aircraft. They don't have to have it on.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this all comes down to education.
Mm-hmm.
You really need to understand how manned aviation works. How they communicate. To make sure that you can fly, like a lot more safely. People tend to think that, you will always hear a helicopter coming in. If you have a helicopter coming in very low, you won't hear it. if you have a helicopter coming in higher, you'll hear it from like a distance, because we have that here. We have a few helipads stuff, and sometimes, if I hear a helicopter coming in, I'll just drop my drone instantly, because there's a good chance that it's maybe 140 meters, 150 meters, and it shouldn't be that way, but sometimes they do come in. I can report that. So if they should come in at 300 meters, but sometimes they come in a bit lower, and I can report that. I can just go to our authorities and say that guy was flying too low.
I'll give you an example of that, Ron. It was your video the other day. I was watching Ron's video at the shore where you were in the at Playland. What was the name of the
Wonderland.
Wonderland, and you were in the Ferris wheel, and if you looked out off on the shore, there was a Coast Guard helicopter. He couldn't have been 100 foot off the deck, right? I mean, did you see that, Ron? I mean, he was on the deck.
Of course, if you're looking for people stranded in the water, you want to be 100 foot off the
deck.
deck.
Well, that's true, but he was also flying at 150 miles an hour too.
He was moving. He was a red streak, but he was a red streak going through that video.
And I so worry about things those are the things that give me heartburn. Ron, I'll give you another example. And Ron and I were together when we were in Florida. I can't remember the name of that park, Ron, that we were flying off of the little boardwalk onto the beach, across the beach into the ocean.
Yeah.
Vero Beach.
Yeah.
And we could hear this aircraft, and we're looking, and Ron's wife Susan was our VO, and we're Ron and I are flying our drones, and she goes, we could hear it. And we're looking around for this aircraft. Susan goes, there it is, and it was some little amphibious airplane, and he wasn't 20 feet off the water.
I mean, I'm talking about low. This is low. I mean, you could have hit it with it could get hit by a wave. It was so low.
He was on. That's exactly right. He was on the deck and moving. Yeah.
So to avoid that kind of guy, you wouldn't lower your drone. You'd raise your drone.
You'd go straight up. Well, I think that's what we did, because as soon as Susan saw it before we did and pointed it out to us, and I think we both hit the upstick hard.
Yeah.
So was he landing, Marcus, or
no? He's just flying up over the waves.
Yeah, I think probably
it was a fixed wing.
A lot of those they just look for people in the water or whatever.
Yeah, it was a fixed wing aircraft. It was
sometimes they look for sharks.
Private aircraft. Yeah, little fixed wing aircraft. Yeah.
Did you have your ADSB go off on the controller saying that there was?
You know what? It did not. So I had the Air 2S, and I don't know if you guys remember, if you still have the Air 2S. The ADSB was particularly sensitive on that drone.
Yeah,
it was one of the first ones, and no, nothing went off. So
I would find a little Altel Nano Plus.
That's right, Ron. Good memory. It was Class G airspace though, so he wouldn't have been required to have ADSB squawking.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Who I mean, obviously you have to give way to manned aircraft, of course, but how do you know? Okay. I mean, you had a VO there. You could hear things and stuff like that, but it's still it is an interesting one, and it's something that if something were to happen, how
as the drone pilot, it's your fault. And that's
of course, but but still, for you to mitigate that, for you to lower the drone, it still wouldn't have been enough. I mean, you'd have had to put the drone in the water.
In that case, my only point is there are situations that can be really hard to, even using your best judgment can be tough to deal with.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I know it's it is it is a tough subject, and we're and I'm sure what happened to you there happens to people all the time, and it's something that we have to mitigate. But as long as you understand that you need the ears and you need the visuals and stuff, and then you just judge with it, if you can see the drone and it's not going to be a danger, then it's fine. I mean, it gives you a little bit of a heart movement, obviously, I
fly out at the Snake River Canyon a lot, and what is a natural thing for a private pilot to do in the Snake River Canyon? They do the Star Wars style,
and yeah, exactly.
run the canyon through there. And in fact, I'm thinking about it when I was with Barkley. Barkley was with me out there, and we had landed our drones. We were already on the ground, and we hear this aircraft, and this guy is coming right down through the canyon there in his private aircraft, and going, man, I don't know, if you were down there at that time, would you know to go up or down or what,
Yeah. Just be thankful that it's one drone and not 400.
well, yeah, that's true. But I'll tell you, the fortunate thing there about the canyon, though, is that you can hear it. I mean, you hear them miles off. So you have plenty of time to react.
And actually, I was going to say that to you, because when we were talking earlier on there, because Snake Canyon is probably a good example of that you can hear. But if the aircraft is coming from behind you, from your ground level, and it's low, for example, so if it's low, then you're not going to hear it until the last moment.
I got to tell you, I'm just telling you, out there at the canyon, I hear them way before they're behind me, in front of me, way before I ever see them.
Yeah.
So
because you don't have trees there, don't you? If I remember, there's no trees there, isn't there?
No, there's no trees.
Yeah. True. Yeah. So because actually trees, if the aircraft's coming in low and you've got trees and buildings around you, that tends to block a lot of it. It tends to block, and then when it comes, so I mean, if it's low, then it comes. It's like, wow, it's there. But if it's higher, then you hear it more.
Right.
But if you don't have trees, if you have nothing there and it's coming in low, then you'll hear it.
Yeah.
Tanya says the sound echoes at the Snake River Canyon.
Tanya and I take turns being each other's VO out there as well. In fact, Tanya, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's probably the farthest Tanya's ever flown her drone, is with me being her VO. She's flying it, and I mean, I could see it up there. So, but yeah.
So we cover a lot of ground here, and I thank Steve for all his insights on these drone shows and some of the other stuff we talked about in the U.S. And I'm going to let Marcus start talking about the little DJI flip drone. Just one quick story here. I think I have a little thing to put up here. See if I can get it playing here. I should have been doing it earlier. Our good friend Jasper Ellens, he put a little thing up about the Mavic 4 Pro there, and he thinks that that DJI RC track will show up alongside of the Mavic 4. Stephen, if you can't talk about it all, you can't. But do you have any thoughts on the Mavic 4 that supposedly is coming out this spring?
I think it's going to be another game changer. Looking at what they have on this Patrice 4. So I've been testing this drone this week. And just what they've packed into this drone, all the new stuff. I mean, even the camera, even though this is not the Hasselblad camera, the zoom on this camera is fantastic. It's absolutely stunning.
I saw in a couple of people at Billy Kyle's video how great the zoom is on that.
I think that this Mavic 4 Pro again, there's talk about the integrated ND filters and stuff like that, and there's no. It looks like there's no switch on that. It looks like when you unfold it, a bit like the Flip. I think again, there's rumors there. It's I think that, you know, DJI are going to become a bit aggressive now over the next few months by getting as much out as possible, mainly because I think that they want to show that they're giving the best value for money drones on the market. And it's going to be tough for any American company to produce a drone like this, or like any drone that they actually bring out. It's again, if I go to the Matrice 4, I'm just thinking from a value for money perspective, even if it's an enterprise, it's damn good value for money. It's damn good value for money. What you get for your price is absolutely stunning. It really is. And
Steve, your opinion, will the US ban DJI drones this year?
Well, they just brought TikTok back, so you never know.
Right. TikTok got a second life, yeah.
So TechSarch drone guy, Michael Wright, I think had, to me, one of the best comments with regard to the Mavic 4 and why you should buy it in the United States, because it may very well be the last opportunity we have to buy a drone with that kind of technology in it. And it's also a drone that if you buy it, people are still, the Mavic 3 came out, 3 years ago or whatever, and it's still a fantastic, timely drone.
Yeah.
If you buy that drone, you could be flying it years from now and still be happy.
Yeah.
Right.
The Mavic and the Mavic 3 Pro, which is still my go-to drone for a hobby or whatever. It's still a great drone. It's still a very, very good drone. And I just think that the Mavic 4 Pro is coming out to spite. I think it's been rushed in a way. It's kind of been rushed. I don't know, but of course it's going to be a great drone. Of course it's going to be a great drone.
Of course it will. Yeah.
No question.
Well, let's talk about other great drones. Marcus, what's up with that DJI flip drone?
Yeah, so I've had a chance to fly it a couple times now. I flew it yesterday with the controller, and today I did some tracking. I got my e-bike out and did some tracking and did a few without a controller at all, just hand launching it and doing a few of the intelligent flight modes, etc. I got questions about it. So when you're flying it with the controller, it's just not as responsive as like your Mini 4, your Mini 3, or even the Mini 2. The best way I can describe it is the controls are sluggish. It still flies. You can still fly it, and it's controllable. I don't mean to say that it's not. I'm just saying that it is sluggish.
Kind of like the second tier drones.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that happened to me yesterday when I did flying with the controller, I did a return to home, and it was coming home, and I was watching the telemetry on the FPV screen, and the horizontal speed would go from 0 to 5 meters per second, then to 0, and then to 5 meters per second. So I looked up at the drone. The drone would pitch forward and go a little ways and then go flat and kind of stop and pitch forward. And it was very, very odd behavior, un-DJI-like, right?
It sounds like it's buggy. It sounds like there's quite a few bugs still there that have to be fixed. So
let's hope there's a firmware update that comes along.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I looked at the footage from yesterday, and one of the mistakes is mine. I wanted to shoot in 4K 60, and I realized after I got home that I had inadvertently put it in 4K 50 frames per second. So I don't know if that affected anything, but playing it back on my computer, I did see some minor shakes in the video. Now, and also understand it was below freezing when I was flying it yesterday. So cold weather can, for sure, I'm sure Stephen can talk to this, definitely can affect these gimbals. So that may be part of it. And then today I took it out. Like I said, I got my e-bike and I went to the school next door, and I wanted to do some hand launching and hand catching. And this guy, let me tell you, you can see my finger sticking right through this thing here. You better be careful. It'd be so easy to get your little pinky finger up in that prop. I'm just telling you. And one of the things that I was wearing gloves today because it was cold again. It was, in fact, it was even colder than yesterday. But at any rate, when I did my first hand landing with it, I was too far behind, and the drone tilted down and fell to the ground. And it would have been like this, would have fell backwards because the drone is facing you. And it hit the pavement, and it hit pretty hard. And I thought for sure I'd probably damaged something, but I didn't. There's not a scratch on it, and it was just fine afterwards. No issues with the gimbal or anything. However, one of the things I discovered then, after that, every time I hand landed it, I did a clamshell. As it lands in your hand, this hand over the top of it, and that way, even if you're a little bit off, it's you're gonna hang on to the drone.
So it doesn't hand launch or hand catch as good as the Neo.
No, the Neo is so easy, and this is not that. And by the way, make sure your palm is flat. Like I said, make sure your palm is flat because you can get a finger in one of those props if you don't. Now I know that some of the reviewers have said, well, they hand catch the body.
Fishing. Yeah, fishing.
I tell you, I don't know. My depth, I have a problem with depth perception anyway. That's just not something I'm going to easily be able to do.
Yeah.
So then the other thing about it is, and by the way, I turned off that auto on thing. When you unfold it, it turns on because you don't always want it on when you unfold it. So you can turn that off in the app, thankfully. But the other thing is it's big. Look at the size of this. So the Neo or the competitor, this guy right here, this little hover is amazing. I can put this in my pocket easy. I can just put it in the pocket of my jacket. You're not going to do that with this. When I was riding my e-bike, I didn't want to take my backpack, so I just kind of tucked it down into my jacket, and that worked. But it's still not as portable as I had hoped it to be. Okay.
Hey, Mark, can I stop you just a second? We have a question in the chat address to you. Intel Maxwell Multirotors asked Marcus, any problems with delivery of the DJI Flip?
I think I got it in about 3 days. It shipped from Hong Kong.
Thank you.
3, maybe 4 days. It was pretty quick.
Thank you.
Shipped from Hong Kong. And I know we all are aware of the problems DJI is having delivering in the United States. Okay, so I got one more little comment, Ron, to tell people about it. And that is this mode button right here. So I found it really awkward. So when you're doing the hand launching and hand catching, you have to hold that mode button down. Well, how do you do it? You're trying to hold it in your hand. So I was always trying to reach over like this. And then if you move at all, it won't launch then. It says detected movement, won't launch. So they didn't give a lot of thought to ergonomics.
On the Neo, the button's right on the top of the front.
Yeah.
Press.
If they'd had a button on top, I think it would have worked a little bit better. So those are just some awkward things. Don't believe me, I'm not giving up on it. I'm just telling you things I've noticed already. Now,
this is good user interface feedback, because the user feedback's important.
Yeah, the upside is, of course, this is the same camera as the Mini 4 Pro, and I think we're going to get pretty good video out of it, pretty good video quality. Again, I saw some stuff yesterday. I just briefly looked at some of the video I took today, and it looked really good. So I think you got a better camera than, well, for sure you have a better camera than the Neo. But the Neo, to me, is just a lot more practical. For one thing, I talked about dropping this. If I'd have dropped the Neo in that same situation, it wouldn't have. You wouldn't have even. You'd have just picked it up and said, "Oh, okay, we're good to go."
And look at Richard's comment. He said, "I had to nip my fingers with hand catching."
Yeah, it's an issue. It's just not. So they advertise it for those automated without a controller flight modes. I just don't know if it's that practical for that. Yeah, so
people say it doesn't land on the ground well. It goes too far down the back, or
yeah, well, it doesn't really have. So yeah, let me flip it open here for you. So you got 3 points of contact, right? The old safety lesson, 3 points of contact. This leg, and then there's a center leg down here. Okay. And it is literally, like you said, particularly these back two are sitting right on the ground. Mm-hmm.
I know you traditionally use a landing pads. It's probably not as big as a deal for you as people that are trying to land on ground.
Yeah, and by the way, it does not have any kind of precision landing either, because I tested that yesterday.
Okay.
How about LiDAR, Marcus? It does or does not have LiDAR?
So it has a infrared or TOF sensor on the. You'd exactly call it a TOF sensor, but it's got infrared, and on the front. And I did get several yesterday when I didn't see it today because I wasn't using the controller, but yesterday I had some falsing with that front sensor where it'd be up in the air with nothing around it, and I'd get that, on the radar map that used the radar on the controller, I'd get one of those red arches on it.
Okay.
This one, on the other hand, this hover, I don't know if you're in the market for a selfie drone, I'm telling you, it's got front and rear, and it's got an obstacle avoidance, and it's got an extraordinary camera on it, and it's tough and easy to carry and super easy to deploy. More expensive.
It all depends on your budget, right?
That's exactly right. This guy, I paid $429 for this kit, just the single battery kit. If you buy the single battery kit of this thing, I think it's $659. So
wow,
yeah, more than a couple $100 more.
Hey, Steve, if you're wondering about all the jokes in the chat, the U.S. is getting almost like a historic deep freeze this week. Almost the whole country is getting record low temperatures, including Giant Drone Flyer down in Louisiana. He's predicted to get 6 to 8 inches of snow in Louisiana, and I don't know if you've ever been to Louisiana, Steve, but Louisiana is almost like tropical. They got palm trees.
Get your drone out and get some nice snow shots.
Johnny told me he's going to charge his FEMI Mini 3 up because if something happens to snow, it's only a FEMI.
It's good for you. Just what to do is be careful for icing on the props. That's all I'll say. Make sure that you make sure if you've got low lying mist, for example, and you've got no wind, you put the drone up, you might, you can check, make sure you don't have any ice. So when you bring the drone back, always check for ice on the props.
Good tip.
Because it can put the drone off balance.
Yeah. Speaking, I'm glad you mentioned fog there, Steve. Some of the Europeans, Gavin and some of the other guys like that, they claim that LiDAR sensor on the flip, that it sees fog and it won't let the drone go. Like the drone stops when it sees fog.
I believe that. Yeah. I believe that.
Yeah. I've not tested that at all. Actually, one of the features on this drone, the Numatrice, which I tried because I just got sent this drone last week and I was going to go out and fly it, and I looked outside and it was all misty and foggy, and I thought I won't fly it. And I was looking through the manual and I'm going, but they have a fog section on here that you can actually adjust the image to make it less foggy. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go and fly this. So I went outside and I tried it, and it does work. So if you're taking an image of something far away and there's fog it can adjust. It's got some kind of special LUT on it or something, and you can adjust
wow.
it, and it makes it look better. So yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah. Yeah. So
Marcus, final. Well, I mean, I know early day thoughts on the.
I've only flown it. This is my second battery through it, so I
early days.
Yeah, early days for sure. It's an interesting product. Just there's questions. How about that?
do you ever get the feeling that they're really firing these drones out now for the sake of it?
I'm not sure the use case for this one. That's where I'm going. I'm just saying, I don't know if you really want good video and so forth. You're a vlogger. Okay, if you're a vlogger, you know what's easier to carry than this? The Mini 4 Pro.
Yeah,
and I realize it's more expensive, but it's a way more capable product.
Yeah, exactly.
I get
Marcus, you and I have discussed this off camera before. Do you think this is DJI's reaction to the hover drones? They're trying to cover all their little, they want to cover every bit of the selfie market or vlogger market with these drones?
That's possible. But I'm telling you, DJI seldom misses the mark. When there's a competitor that comes out, they always find a way to do whatever they were doing better. And I'm not sure that's the case with this one. So the short answer is, Ron, I'm not sure.
But even if that drone's not perfect right now, you can guarantee in about a month or two, maybe 3, there'll be some nice updates coming in with some more features in it. Let's
see some firmware updates. One of the things that worried me the most was that return to home, where it was pitching and stopping. So we'll see. And could that have been that the infrared sensor on the front? Possible.
Yeah, maybe you saw a little fog in your location.
Well, there wasn't any fog. It was a clear enough day, but I mean, could it? Well, I just don't know. So
yeah, early days.
Yeah.
So somebody said Jake Sloan did a good video on the flip. Of course, Jake. He tests his in extreme environments up there in Alaska. So,
and he got his about 2 months before they released it, as opposed to somebody like me that buys it and you got 2 days to get something out.
Right, but that's all to me. That's almost better than somebody that's kind of maybe overthinks the review.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah,
somebody that I'm not saying that the people get earlier. Some people say they give all good reviews because they get the drones. I'm not necessarily saying that, but they maybe have a little bit too much time to think about it.
Well, I'm kind of envious of stuff because they get so much time to fly the drone and just test out every little nook and cranny of what it'll do and what it won't do, and
of course, a lot of that's on beta firmware also, though.
Which is true.
At least you're flying on the Gold Master firmware.
I did that initial firmware update. I did that, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Look for a video soon on the Idaho Quadcopter channel.
Yeah. So please subscribe and ring that bell notifications. So, well, I mean, I know it's an odd hour for Steven, so we'll kind of wrap up the show here. We're almost at the hour and 15 mark here. Steve, is there anything else you have coming up on your channel or anything you'd like to talk about before we say goodnight?
I'll have a review for the Matrice 4 soon. Okay. Just my own, my.
Now, Stephen, what do you use the Matrice for what kind of projects?
I'm doing a lot of mapping, a lot of inspections, so I do. I do regular construction sites, a lot of mapping and stuff.
And that drone's very strong at mapping, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I only have one. I only have one battery for this, so I can't really go out and do my usual mapping jobs because I only have one battery. So, because my usual mapping job takes me about 4 batteries for the Mavic 3 Enterprise. So I have to be quite sparing when I'm out flying with it. You know, I mean, I get some good time with it. You know,
Hey, Stephen, let me interrupt. 107 drones is asking you: is it the 4T or the 4E that you're showing?
It's the 4E.
4E,
4E.
E for Enterprise.
And by the way, I love this gimbal cover. Look at this gimbal cover.
Wow,
right?
that's a
It's
real
actually
quite
nice.
It's actually fabric. It's more like a plastic.
Fabric.
Yeah,
wow.
it's like a plastic.
Yeah.
You can
see.
actually squeeze it, and it's very easy to go on and off. It's one of the easiest gimbal covers to come on and off.
Silicone or
Yes,
fabric?
yes,
Okay.
it's actually silicone. So you're not really going to do it. So you can be quite heavy with it by putting it on, and you not feel like you're going to damage the gimbal. So yeah, this is nice. I actually one very kind of obviously for the software and the image quality is like, but one thing which I really I mean, if I'm in cold conditions and I'm flying and you've got really cold hands and you can't put the gimbal cover on properly, it's really frustrating. trying to get it in the case and stuff. This is great. I'm not even looking at it, and I can put this on and off. It's great. This is, I like this.
Marco, be the first on the block to get one.
No.
And Stephen, I know Ray Kelly's not here tonight, but I'm sure he would want to formally invite you to the South Florida Drone Meetup this year or any year in the future if you have any time in April.
I'm always invited, and I just don't get the time to go. I'll try to come this year. It's in April, isn't it? Yeah.
And we guarantee. I don't know what the weather in Finland is that time of year, but the first week in Florida, it'll probably be in the 80s every day. 80 Fahrenheit.
Yes, I've not had a holiday in a long time. I need to have a holiday.
we know all the good spots to take you to down there now.
Excellent. That sounds good. And I could do my Part 107 as well when I'm there.
You could.
That would be my plan.
If we can ever get what's our friend's name that does the course?
Greg Rivardier.
Yeah, Greg always sends stuff. I think he has some other thing going on, but if ever a year, Greg could actually come and give you the test in person or something.
I don't think Greg can give anybody a Part 107 test, but he can give you the study guide. That's for sure. In person. Yeah.
Yes, I've always got an open indication, as Ray's saying there. I have an open indication, and I'd love to come over.
Oh yeah. Look, yeah.
Yes.
We'll pick you up at the airport.
Yeah, it would be. Listen, if I came there, right, I probably wouldn't have time to fly because I'd just be spending so much time talking with you all because
that's half the fun. That is half.
That happens to all of us.
Yeah, because I would have so much to say to you all, and I would want to spend as much time with you all. I probably wouldn't have time to fly. So.
Well, again, thanks again so much for coming on tonight. And if we get some updates or more information on the Orlando Drone Show or any other ones, we'd love to have you back on if any more breaking news comes out on those shows.
I have there's some things going on, let's say, and I'm sure when the final report comes out, I would love to come on and talk.
Okay, when everything's out there, all the facts are known, we'd love to have you back on and kind of give us your opinions once everything's known.
Thank you very much. That'd be great. And thank you to everyone in the chat as well. Good to see
you got a lot of fans out in the chat there, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you,
DeMarco. Good pick. It's still 13 minutes, but I'm going to congratulate you. Looks like you called another national championship game tonight.
Yeah, well, we will see. It's 31-15, and Notre Dame is driving right now.
Yeah, High State did turn the ball over. Are you expecting any snow from this cold weather that's coming down from Lawrence? Probably sending down.
No snow. Just a really cold here. So it was like 8 degrees here today. So.
Wow. Yeah. Did the kids have school? No, Martin Luther King Day. They had off, luckily.
Off today for the holiday, and then we have one sick kid with the flu. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which one's home?
The biggest one. Maddox has a he tested positive.
And I was
as well.
thinking
He's
you may
doing
have to
good.
ship Maddox down to Hammond because Johnny doesn't even have the snow shovel.
No. I'll send the twins down. They can stay for a couple of weeks
They
too.
can clean up down there in town, but nobody's got a snow shovel.
Hey, Johnny's got an extra bedroom right there, and he's got granddaughters that can help babysit and all that. That's perfect.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably sleeping right now. They took a spill. So yes.
So Marcus, what's your weather prediction with this cold front?
It is cold but clear. So we've got some clear weather. We've had a little bit of wind, which isn't conducive to flying. But yeah, I hope to get out as much as I can. It's just, I don't know. You know, Stephen knows way more about this than I do. But flying in the cold, gosh darn! Even if you wear the gloves, the photographer's gloves, and all that, your fingers by the time you're done. And I just don't think you could be as precise on the sticks as you otherwise are. So it's always
You have to run a couple waypoint missions then.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you try and do, the automated flight modes in this kind of weather.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm also hit. But we had snow, but now it's just cold and clear for the next few days. I haven't flown in a long time because I either have it's either too cold, too windy, or it's wet. One of those things is always in play. So I haven't been out. I've been out since I had my surgery. But I want to thank everybody who joins us in the chat tonight. Everybody who even in this cold weather sat here and listened to us talk for the last hour plus or whatever, and people who missed some of the national championship game. Thank you all very much. I hope everybody can keep as warm as they possibly can. Now, Bob Dempsey's reporting 90 degrees in Panama, but Brand Arrows is reporting 3 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's a lot of difference in temperatures out there, depending on where you happen to be at the moment. But again, everybody keep warm, keep safe, and we'll be back next Monday night. Marcus will probably talk more about the flip over. Hopefully, he'll get a couple more flights in this week, and we'll learn more about that. And I don't know if anything's coming out between then and now, but if it does, we'll keep our eye on it. Good night. Take care. Stay warm. See you next Monday.